Hi, Corey. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dom. How are you?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much. Who are we, Corey?
We're Agile monkeys.
Yeah, you are right. Why we are Agile monkeys?
Enthusiastic, nimble, bouncing around, always happy. Yeah, that's an Agile monkey for me.
Yeah, and we are very active in Agile communities, right?
Oh yeah, swinging from
Yeah,
Agile tree to Agile tree.
yeah. Could you please introduce yourself for
Sure,
our
sure.
audiences?
I'm Corey King. I'm an Agile coach. Been working in Agile since 2007, and focused primarily in Scrum and Kanban, and focus mainly on team level coaching. I do transformation, I do enterprise level coaching, but really my sweet spot, my passion is working with teams and helping them become a team, helping them optimize. I also really enjoy mentoring people into the role of Scrum Master through apprenticeship and teaching and mentoring, as well as people who are aspiring to be Agile coaches. That's me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm Dam Mongkonongchai. I'm from Thailand. Uh, I have been working on Agile almost 2 years. Yeah, by the way, I have background of Lean and Six Sigma about 15 years. That's why I connected to Agile quickly. And I'm very into Agile because I know that it's very useful for many businesses and education. Yeah, that's why now I'm very active in Agile to tell people, to tell teachers, people in businesses to implement Agile, to grow the business and help students to learn more effectively. Yep. And I would like to know, Kauri, how uh, how did you start your career in Agile?
Well, that's interesting because I just realized you and I kind of started the same way, I think, which is in 2005, I got involved in Lean. I was working at a industrial manufacturing plant, and one of the first Lean coaches, I suppose. I guess I don't know if that was his title or not, but he came from the first American Toyota manufacturing plant and taught me Lean and Lean concepts and how to apply it. And I saw this tremendous value, not just in productivity and quality, but also in happiness of individuals and of teams who are working in the facility that we were working in. And I was just blown away. I was just so astounded by how these actually, in the grand scheme of things, really simple, small changes led to monumental results. About 2 years later, I was working at a different firm and needed to find a better way of delivering the value that we were supposed to be delivering, and did a lot of research. Back in 2007, the internet wasn't what it is today, so it was not as easy to go and learn about Agile and Scrum and different frameworks and so on and so forth as it is today. You can't open up a web browser today without tripping over something about Agile. And so I did a lot of research, learned on the fly, and led an experiment that went very right in Scrum and Kanban, what we would call today Scrumban. We
Yeah.
mashed them together and just never looked back. At the time, I was a PMP, right? So I had
Mm-hmm.
been working in waterfall and delivering projects in a waterfall manner for quite some time. And when I discovered this Agile thing, I say that jokingly, when I discovered Agile, I was just so overwhelmed by the broad applicability of it. I mean, you could, your comment earlier, right? You can apply it in education, you can apply it in human resources. Really, the mindset and the thinking behavior can be applied anywhere. And then looking at the frameworks, many of them have applicability in a variety of settings as well. So that was really where I learned and cut my teeth on becoming an Agilist, and never looked back, and went on to many other companies and projects after that, and kept learning, kept growing. And here I am today as a coach. I guess that's about 10, 11 years ago now.
Wow. Your
How about
background
you?
is very outstanding. Yeah, I like that.
Well, thanks. That's just my background. I'm still a student. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm very thankful for communities that are welcoming of people who want to learn and make it easy for them to learn. So, and I hope that's what we're doing here too, sharing our passion and some knowledge with others. So anyway, how about you? How did you get started?
Yeah, I learned about Agile from my university at San Jose State University 2 years ago. My professor introduced Agile to me and my friends, and I was so excited to learn something new. And after that, I wanted to work. I wanted to have my career in Agile. It was pretty difficult for newcomers in these communities, and I talked to many people. I got to know my mentor, my coach, Tanner Wharton. Now he was at LinkedIn. He told me to start from where I was and what I was doing. So I brought Agile to my internship place, and now they are doing Agile since then. Yeah, and they are pretty successful. And after studying more and more about Agile, and I found that Agile is in the system thinking. Yeah, and lean manufacturing, Six Sigma, Agile, Scrum, Kanban are in the same family. I could say that. Yeah, and from Edward Deming, right? Yeah.
Right.
Now he is my hero. Yeah. For my career, I have to thank him that he created many jobs around the world, and people can implement his ideas. Yeah, to earn money, feed
he sure
themselves and his families. Yeah,
yeah, he
that's my
sure has
background.
inspired a lot.
Yeah, keep
So
going.
that's interesting. That's interesting. So you started learning about it in school. Let's talk about that. Was it a specific class where they were teaching Agile or teaching one of the frameworks, or what was it? How in school did you get exposed to Agile?
No, it was a special class. My professor taught me and my friends about enterprise engineering. Yeah, that's why I learned design engineering methodology for organizations. Is another. It's kind of like a high level of what is that? Flowcharts. Yeah, that we can talk about later. It's very useful for understanding working processes at the beginning when we try to understand our clients, right? And he said that, okay, do you want to learn about Agile, Scrum? I can teach you on a weekend. Yeah, and we said yes. Yeah, we started from one weekend, and then he continued teaching us 2 more weekends. So my career started from 3 weekends of Agile from my professor. Yeah, I heard that many universities in the USA are teaching Agile in MBA classes now.
So that's interesting. That was why I asked the question. I went through my MBA program 2009 through 2011, and the project management portion and business operations and all the other places where you and I understand Agile to have applicability. Agile was never mentioned, not once. And so since I had at that point, I guess in 2009, I had been working in Agile and specifically Scrum and Kanban for 2 years at that point, I kept asking about it in class. Well, what about Agile? What about this framework? What about that framework? And what about this organizational theory and so on and so forth. So there's in your MBA program, there's a number of places where Agile has applicability. I mean, we talk about working with teams. We talk about organizational structure. We talk about markets for going to model. I'm sorry, models for going to market. And channels for distribution and supporting those things and building products. There were so many places in the program where Agile had applicability, and it literally never came up in the 2 years I was in the program, except for whenever, much to my professor's annoyance, I brought it up every time. There's this other model that can help here. But they were really big on pushing, what we call waterfall, but the more traditional project management approach. So I guess my point being is it's really interesting that in the past few years, when you were at San Jose and you were in an engineering program, that they're talking about this, even if it was a weekend one-off class.
Yeah, actually, I think Agile could be implemented in all classes. Why? Because all classes have a project for students to do, right? So if a professor, just adds, how to manage their project at the beginning of the class, by introducing Agile to students, besides whatever they are learning from the class, and then students can learn, how to manage their project, and then they can, I think they can produce outcomes from their projects more effectively when they know Agile at the beginning of their class. So a university can adopt by having a specific class of Agile, or they can teach Agile in every class at the beginning of a semester. So it will be useful for students to finish their projects.
Agile. So just to make a distinction, so Agile as a way of thinking and being, with a focus on the values and principles and executing our work in line with those values and principles, and or an Agile aligned framework like XP, Scrum, Kanban, etc., for executing your project in a very specific way, your academic project in a very specific way. I'll take it one step further and say that Agile as a philosophy for how we think and how we behave has broad applicability to many classes, right? So whatever you're learning, there's a way to learn it in both a way that is Agile, but also to find ways to apply the values and principles to what we're learning. Because we're really focused, in learning, we're really focused on, let's just take the value of working software over comprehensive documentation, right? If we are learning, one of the class objectives is to be empirical and to learn experientially, a word I apparently can't say, but to learn through experience, learn by doing, putting your hands on, versus more theoretical, lecture-based, book-based learning, right? So there's a number of ways that we could bring Agile into the classroom and use the values and principles to shape how we teach, how we learn, how we interact as a learning community, so on and so forth. In my opinion, right? You can also, instead of waiting to the end of the class, at the end of the semester, to perform an inspect and adapt, or to perform a retrospective, thinking about principle number 12 there, constantly seeking feedback, that feedback loop, going back to your Deming model, right? And using that feedback to then improve upon the class, improve upon the materials, the delivery, the activities, or interactions, so on. So I think Agile and education go together very well.
Experiential learning.
Thank you. You can say it
Yes.
apparently. I can. That's okay. Your English is
Yeah.
better than my English.
Oh, thank you. I think it's true. Yeah.
At least with that one word, it's true. That's okay. Your Thai is
Yeah.
also better than my Thai. So
You will learn one day. Okay.
one
And
day.
I'm 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 new for agile communities. I have
Okay.
uh I have seen many students or people, yeah, who
Hmm.
want to start their own journey in agile. Yeah, could you
Hmm.
please tell them how to start? Yeah, tell them or encourage them. Yeah, to work in agile.
Well, let's dig into that a little bit. When you say work in Agile,
Yeah,
and people wanting to start their journeys,
yeah.
I'd say first and foremost, whatever it is you're doing,
Mm-hmm,
however you're going to apply Agile,
mm-hmm,
whatever it is that you want to do with it,
mm-hmm.
um, you have to start with the manifesto, right?
Yep.
It is the absolute foundation. You have to understand that it's a new way of thinking and behaving, or for many, it's a new way of
Mm-hmm,
thinking and behaving. For those who might be, you know, young students who want to become practitioners, it's not a new way of thinking. It might literally become the way they think and
mm-hmm,
behave. But I'd say no one can go wrong starting with the manifesto, its values, and its supporting principles. Start there, understand them, understand that it's not going to change who you are until it has some context, right? So, you know, building motivated teams, one of the Agile principles, right? And giving them the support they need and to help them become successful
mm-hmm,
really doesn't have any impact on you as a brand new learner until you can see where a team requires that support, right?
mm-hmm,
Requires the environment that is lacking. And then you can turn to that and say, oh, this team is lacking motivation. What might be causing that? Do they have the support and the environment they need to be successful, right? Or looking at something like simplicity being the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, and how essential that is in an agile environment, right? You might not understand the applicability, or you might not be able to give that. It won't have meaning for you until you can
mm-hmm.
put it into a context, right?
Yeah.
So my point being is you really need to start, or I would strongly suggest that a young practitioner, somebody who is changing from one model to another model,
Mm-hmm,
whoever you are, start with the manifesto, start with its values and its supporting principles, but also understand that while that is the foundation, it's not necessarily going to be life-changing until you can
mm-hmm,
start giving it context. I'd say the next thing is Agile is a community. And right now, the community is a bit fractured,
mm-hmm.
meaning that there's a lot of contention in the community over what Agile truly is. There's a lot of contention in the community over frameworks and scaling. There's a lot of contention in the community over, in my opinion, the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say if you're a young learner, it's probably best to be aware that those things are going on, understand what the argument, if you will, is about. But it's probably best to not get swept up in it and
Mm-hmm.
instead read. Instead, be part of community groups like meetups and
Yes.
online forums. It's
Mm-hmm.
important to be part of a learning organization that's committed to helping people grow. It is incredibly important to be part of an agile effort, whether that be a community-based project or a work project or a
Yep.
volunteer opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having in a space to give the values and principles context, as well as to learn from other practitioners, as well as to learn by doing, make mistakes and learn from them, and
Mm-hmm.
fine tune your approach. I'd say all those things are critically important. So it's a number of different directions simultaneously, right? it's first and foremost, start off by understanding the foundation of what Agile is. Second
Yeah.
is go interact with other Agilists online, in person, what have
Mm-hmm.
you, and learn. Then, at the same time, be learning by doing, learning by experience, um, on a project or on an effort, or become somebody's tutee or mentee,
Mm-hmm.
and learn from somebody else. Um, that's where I'm going to leave it off. I don't want to ramble on too much. Give you a chance to share your thoughts on it.
Yeah,
So
that's why I like listening to you and other people to learn from you guys. And for me,
well,
I
I
would like
appreciate that.
to, yeah, you're welcome. And I I would like to encourage new practitioners to start from where they are, what they are
Mhm.
doing. Yeah, you don't need to be a Scrum Master or an Agile coach to work in Agile, right? So, yeah, if you
True.
can bring this idea to your organizations, to your schools, universities, and people can see impacts. Yeah,
Hmm.
people will be happy, and
Yeah.
they will follow your ideas. And joining communities, events, yeah, meetups, conferences, seminars, yeah, and this will help you to learn from other people,
Yeah.
learn from their experiences, and uh, reading books, yeah, listening to audio books or audio uh, materials, yeah, from
Hmm.
people will be very useful for implementing agile in workplaces or in education as well.
Hmm.
Yep, and uh, about our talk, right?
Hmm.
We will have more guests to join us. Yeah, next
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah, and Corey, what would you like other people who join us next time talk about?
Well, wait a minute. Before we go down that road, I want to share
Uh-huh.
something else, which is,
Okay.
um, Dom, your point about starting where you are, starting simple.
Uh-huh.
That's a great point, right? Which is,
Yep.
I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. I have, and you know this because you've been in my house. I have a Kanban board on my refrigerator, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That my wife and my kids and I use
Uh-huh.
to manage our chores, manage our work,
Yep.
and I think that's a point, which is if you're starting off on your journey, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much free stuff out there. There's so
Yep.
much you can do to experiment and learn. I've got a
Mm-hmm.
Kanban on my refrigerator that helps me
Yes.
understand prioritized work, who's doing
Yes.
what the current state of that work is. It gives us a center or a focal
Mm-hmm.
point for us to gather around and talk about what we've accomplished, what still needs to be
Mm-hmm.
accomplished. Um, it helps us understand what is most important by prioritizing the work, all those sort of things, right? Or pick up
Mm-hmm.
work for somebody else that my wife says, I can't do this. I need you to do this, please. And I say, sure, honey. What do you want me to not do? Just kidding. Um, but the point
Honey-do
being
list.
is yeah, my honey-do list and my honey don't list. But the point being is, right, you don't have to spend money to actually learn Agile and to learn one of the Agile frameworks.
Yeah.
Um, there is so much on YouTube. There are so many blogs, amazing blogs and video blogs and audio podcasts
Mm-hmm.
that have fantastic content,
Mm-hmm.
that you can read for free, that you can
Yep.
watch for free. Scrum.inc, Scrum.org, Leading Agile, Mike Cohn's blog, Age of
Mm-hmm.
Product with Stefan Volpers. There's there's 100 more that I can think that I know of, that I can't think off the top of my head, that are all free, right?
Yes.
And you can go read these things and learn, and you don't have to spend a dime. Going back to your point about certifications, I think that at some point in time they might be important to new Agilists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it should, in my opinion, it shouldn't be, or it doesn't need to be where you start.
Yeah.
And there's a whole, talk about arguments in the Agile community. Certifications and the monetization of Scrum is a huge ongoing argument. All these different competing certifications and different certifying bodies and all this kind of stuff. But if you're new, you don't want to be part of that argument, right? You want to learn the basics. You want to understand. And there are so many people out there who are willing to share their knowledge with you for free on blogs and on videos and so on and so forth. So that'd be a huge piece of advice. Before you spend any money, just read and listen. Yeah. Sorry.
I totally
back to your question when you're ready.
I totally agree with you that like myself, I'm scrumming myself when I'm scrumming myself, and then I saw benefits from Scrum, from Agile, and then I have when I tell people about Agile advantages or Scrum advantages, I have energy. From when I tell people, it will come out from my eyes, from my body language. That will tell people how amazing Agile is or Scrum is, right? And actually, Scrumming or doing Agile with your family could be the most difficult. Like you cannot teach your wife to drive. It's difficult, right? So this is kind of like maybe the best way to implement, and you learn from your family members. And once you step out, to do at work, you will have strategies, to work with other people. And I think we have to wrap up for our talk before our time is running out.
Okay.
The next time.
We have a time box.
Could you please tell our audiences for the next next talk?
Sure. So I'd love for us to talk about the entire concept of success and failure in Agile. From every different angle, from a coaching angle, from a team member angle, from Agile adoption and implementation and transformation angle. There's so much to talk about just on the topic of success and failure.
And we are welcome everyone to talk about anything about Agile. In our Agile Monkeys talk, right? We will learn from each other. From having conversation, that we are very open for that. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure. I love spending time with you. Agree. Your passion and energy is infectious in a positive way.
And you too. So thank you, our audiences, for taking your time to listen to our talk. And I hope to have you to join our talk and learn from each other. So see you next time.
Start simple, start small, start where you are.
You're right. Bye-bye.